Hello, everyone. Welcome to this video. I'm joined by my colleague and co-host, Michael, and we are going to be exploring the topic of transforming Guy McPherson's message. So I'll just kick it off. And Michael, great to see you, Michael. How you doing?
Good to be here. I'm interested in hearing what you have to say about transforming Guy McPherson's message and the support groups.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for mentioning the support groups. That's addressed in a separate video called Guy McPherson Support Groups that I just published. Transforming, but it's a very closely related topic. Transforming Guy McPherson's message, what I would suggest is that rather than his, and I'll discuss this with Guy McPherson himself. I don't know if he'll, have any interest in transforming his message or anything like that, but I'm sure he'll at least listen to the idea. But what I'm going to suggest is that rather than saying, we are in the midst of abrupt climate change leading to near-term human extinction within X time frame, rather than that, and sorry for laughing, but I mean, I'm just laughing at how extreme it sounds. What if a guy were to instead say something to the effect of, we're about to jump into a hothouse state, and that's going to happen within, the next whatever time frame, right? 5 years, whatever. And the jump in temperature, in global average temperature, will be around, 10 or 11 degrees C or whatever the number is. Okay, fine. Okay. And, what does that mean for humanity? It means that the vast majority of humans will die. And that, well, actually, we would face actual human extinction were it not for the folks who are going to be holed up in bunkers and weatherproof Arkologies, which is the stuff of Noah's Arkology, a whole network of weatherproof Arkologies surrounding the world with stockpiles of food, with the ability to produce food, and with special missions that these various Arkologies would be on, such as the mission of shutting down nuclear power plants. You can imagine Arkologies co-located very close to nuclear power plants, so that when we do have this 10-degree jump in temperature, and everything goes mad maxed in the early stages of that, and then everyone ends up killing or eating each other or whatever, and we're left with no humans left alive except that those in bunkers and in these weather-resistant Arkologies, then the folks in the weather-resistant Arkologies close to the bunker, to the nuclear power plants, would set about shutting down those nuclear power plants. And I've said that all very simplistically, but it's actually, as you can imagine, quite a chore to decommission a nuclear power plant. And to do it safely when the world is in a hothouse state is really going to be quite a challenge. So this weather-resistant Arkology that would be co-located next to a nuclear power plant would have to be stocked with all kinds of tools, equipment, materials, experts, you name it. So we're talking about a major Arkology. Might have a few thousand people in it. Maybe more, maybe less. So, but the point is that it seems kind of ridiculous to me that human beings with our will to survive are not going to end up, building some sort of weather-resistant Arkologies in time. Maybe not all of us, but certainly at a minimum, the couple few thousand needed to be able to, sustain a population of humans. So one of the big well, okay, a lot of questions come up. I mean, will there be any places on planet Earth that would be at all hospitable to life? I would imagine the North Pole, right? And so what about building our colonies up on the North Pole, right? Well, actually not the North Pole, but let's just say.
The South Pole. The South Pole.
Okay, thank you. Antarctica, but then on near the North Pole, northern Siberia, northern Canada, great, places like that, Greenland. Um, what about building our colleges and those kinds of places? And when the weather is nice, when the sun is out, and it's the warm season, or vice versa. Whenever it's most hospitable, well, maybe you venture out of your arcology, and and enjoy the real natural world or whatever. But anyway, another purpose of the arcologies would be, in addition to shutting down nuclear power plants, would be to help shelter and even relocate species to climate, just like we were talking about relocating humans to north and south, relocating other species, basically being stewards, shepherds of various other species, right? As many as can be saved. In fact, perhaps whole ecosystems can be saved through some combination of, putting a weather-resistant arcology over them, as crazy as that may sound, or, doing the equivalent of taking a giant shovel, scooping up, a chunk of ecosystem, I don't know, 1/8 of an acre or something of some vibrant ecosystem somewhere, and transporting it by ship up to, some latitude where it can take root. Anyway, you get the picture. So get rid of, nuclear power plants, nuclear missiles, and other sources of serious contaminants, and then shepherd and care for species, help life to survive, regardless of whether humans end up making it or not. We can certainly do a lot, I believe, in helping to ensure that life, period, goes on planet Earth. So anyway, that's so the gist of the transformation of the message would be to say, humans will go extinct with the exception of some possible very small pocket populations, which may try to hang on for a while and actually do some good while they're hanging on, right? And who knows, by some miracles, they may be able to, detoxify enough of planet Earth, like notably of nuclear, so that it can be habitable, and B, make it in the long haul in terms of food production and reproduction and finding enough meaning in life to go on in this radically transformed world, right? So the transformation in Guy McPherson's message would essentially be, same message in terms of, hey, we're about to go hothouse, and the vast majority of life is going to die. But as far as humanity, well, looks like we're all going to be dead except for, those courageous few who, end up in bunkers or some form of weather-resistant arcology. I'm going to go on mute because I've just said a lot.
Wow. Well, I think the transformation in terms of solutions instead of problems speaks for itself. In terms of denuclearization, essentially eliminating the existential threat to life itself. Admittedly, it sounds extreme, but I think that is substantiated by the very real threat we face, right? I mean, the very fact that we're talking about saving life, above and beyond human life, the human species, yeah, I think it speaks for itself. Hopefully, there's a way to mobilize in such a way that those who, do get it will be in a position to do something about it before humans go extinct. What do you think?
Yeah. And, and actually, my big ulterior motive is that people, by hearing Guy McPherson's message coupled with at least a small sliver of light a small crack in the, in the edifice, letting some light come through in the form of hope. I think that combination makes Guy McPherson's message, with again the same exact science, same exact temperature rise, same exact time frame and all that, but I think it makes his message more easy to assimilate by human beings, because there's a story not only of hope in the case of Noah's Arkology, but hope and inspiration, right? A new meaning of human life above and beyond, let me just, me and mine, let me survive and hoard. Well, that's what got us into this mess. So this not only provides hope for survival for some, not for all, but notably for the species, and hope for coming up with a new meaning for human life that we help support and protect and clean up and care for Mother Earth and all her children, including but not limited to humans, right? So anyway, I think it makes the message more easy to assimilate. And if people can assimilate it, then they can begin to work with it, right? Because right now, I think, two things are happening. People are just kind of like batting it away, or like they hear about it, they know that it exists intellectually, just like I know that some men pierce their nipples. It drives me crazy. I think it's disgusting. I don't want to think about it. But so I just kind of push it out of my mind. Yes, I know it exists, but I push it out of my mind, versus those who really assimilate it, and then go on to, join a Guy McPherson support group, for example, or, or feel very liberated, and now they can really live their life because they know that it's about to end, or, whatever. Right. But that's kind of a rare bird, I would say, relative to the masses who just kind of try to put it out of their mind because it's just too bleak a message.
Well, we're talking to rare birds, I would say. Perhaps a whole chorus, right? A congregation of birds, so to speak. I do have a question though, Damon. Those who would be inclined to watch a video like this, right? And in your previous one about like Guy McPherson's support groups, right? Presumably would be the same folks who would be dialed into Arkologies in general, and to the idea of Noah's Arkology in particular, right? So looks like you want to say something. Let me just finish my thought. Would you not say that a Guy McPherson support group would more or less be synonymous with a Noah's Arkology, or would you say? I mean, the whole notion of a Guy McPherson support group sounds rather ironic, and even ironic. I say that because it would seem like those who would be a part of a support group would be a part of those who would say there is no hope, right? There's no hopium, or that hope is a form of hopium. But that aside, it would seem like those who are interested in transformation of message would be precisely those who would form a Noah's Ark.
No, thank you, Michael. Actually, I see it sort of the opposite of what you just articulated, in that the people who currently assimilate Guy McPherson's message seem to be the ones who are comfortable with saying, okay, there's no hope at all. There's nothing to be done. We're all going to die. Let's enter this global hospice and only love remains. And we don't have much time left, right? Those are the people who currently assimilate Guy McPherson's message. That's kind of
that's the irony, right?
Well,
it's kind of an oxymoron.
But here's the
Guy McPherson support group.
But here's my point. Because these people assimilate his message and then say, okay, basically we're going to die, they're not getting off their butts and trying to join or build an Arkology. They're not from what I can see. and I've been to a Guy McPherson support group, and I'm wanting to, help build an online Guy McPherson support group, or perhaps multiple if we want to have, different support groups for different foci, right? As we've talked before about, depending on where people's heads are at. And I think maybe this is the synthesis between, the different perspectives is, look, let's have a plurality of Guy McPherson support groups. Let's have a Guy McPherson support group for people who basically want to go into global hospice mode and just say, okay, we're all going to die, and let's all either pray or meditate or overeat or do drugs or whatever, right? Let's have another Guy McPherson support group for people who are action oriented and say, hey, I want to, participate in the, Noah's Arkology or another planetary Arkology movement with some real meaning to it, right? That says, hey, we don't want to just die. We want to, do something positive with the time that we have left. And I point people to the series Noah's Arkology for more on that. And, other Guy McPherson support groups, one for just focusing on love, another for, hooking up, sort of like a Match.com for Guy McPherson followers, whatever, right? Let's have a plurality of Guy McPherson support groups. But the topic that I want to really focus on for this conversation is, and it's related to that, is transforming the message. So it's a message that's, again, same science, but at least a crack in the edifice to let some light through for hope. Whether it's hope for living in a bunker, living in an Arkology, participating in one or more of the missions that we talk about in Noah's Arkology, etc. Anyway, if you have anything more to add on any of that, please just jump in. But you see, I believe that even that degree of blunting of the spear tip of the Guy McPherson message would make it much more easy for people to assimilate and then start to grapple with. So let the message be, look, we're about to go hothouse. Everyone agree with that? Yep. Okay, great. We're about to go hothouse. What are our options? Okay, that's where I propose there be a plurality, right, of different ways you can take the conversation. And this is a conversation. People aren't going to assimilate this on their own in a vacuum. They're going to assimilate it talking it through with other people. That's part of the point of the support group, right? But let's open it up. Let's not make it abrupt climate change leading to near-term human extinction. Let's make it abrupt climate change leading to choose your own adventure. Do you want to live in a bunker? Live in a bunker. Do you want to be part of an Arkology? Be part of an Arkology. Do you want to just die? Die. Right? But choose your own adventure. Don't let Guy McPherson choose it for you. Michael, what do you think?
Sorry, Damon. I actually just took a quick call, so I don't know what you.
Okay, let me just recap it for you real quick, okay? All right. My fundamental point is this. Rather than Guy McPherson's message being abrupt climate change leading to near-term human extinction, let his fundamental message be abrupt climate change. We are going hothouse. It's happening very soon, so none of that changes. But as we go hothouse, and once we go hothouse, what happens from there? Choose your own adventure. If you want to explore the possibilities of near-term human extinction, go for it. If you want to explore the possibilities of living in a bunker or living in an Arkology, or even participating in some mission associated with Noah's Arkology that has real meaning for humanity and for Mother Earth, go for it. So choose your own adventure. So instead of abrupt climate change leading to near-term human extinction, let it be abrupt climate change leading to choose your own adventure, right? And I think that makes his message much more easy for people to assimilate and then be able to, find the appropriate support group to choose or develop their own adventure. Right? Anyway, what do you think about that? Going on mute.
Well, I do wonder, Jamin, whether framing it in terms of a Guy McPherson's support group is the most effective framing. Not that I don't want to reach out to Guy McPherson's, supporters.
But by the way, can I just pause you for a second?
Yes.
There's something important. So the topic of Guy McPherson's support groups is actually independent of the topic of transforming Guy McPherson's message. They're related, but they're separate conversations. So transforming Guy McPherson's message is a very important topic to me, irrespective of whether there are Guy McPherson support groups or not, and vice versa. Back to you. Go on mute.
Well, that said, I say I say the transformation is one that's going to happen quite organically, and so if we create the space for it to happen, a place to plant the seed, let it grow, it either will or it won't. And so I say we give it a chance. We give it every chance feasible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this video is one such vehicle. Again, I'm going to talk with Guy and suggest it to him. I may even actually, I'll propose that we do an interview, and the subject of the interview is transforming your message. Anyway, I'll see what he's open for. But this addresses both this topic of the transformation of the message and the support group and Noah's Arkology. They all address this crisis compounding. It's a crisis compounding a predicament. The predicament is abrupt climate change, leading to whatever it's going to lead to. The crisis is that we're not talking about it. That humanity is not talking about it. That's the crisis, and that's
that's a profound point, Jamin. That's a profound point. That the crisis in question is precisely not listening to the message itself. It's not so much the message that points to the crisis that's happening. Yeah, that's happening, right? But the inability or the unwillingness to do something about it, I think, is the greater crisis.
Yeah, and the gateway to that crisis is the subset of that crisis, which is that no one's talking about it. If we're not even talking about it, how the heck are we going to have any hope of doing anything about it?
Yeah, and that's the larger human tragedy.
Right. And so getting back to the topic of this video, I'm proposing that to address this crisis, to ameliorate this crisis, to solve this crisis, we transform the Guy McPherson message. Right? Look, obviously only Guy McPherson can transform the Guy McPherson message. I want to be clear about that. But we can at least propose it. We can put it out there, and we can put our alternate message out into the marketplace of memes and ideas, right? And that is a much softer message with some possibility built into it, so that people don't just go catatonic, or whatever the word is, where they just, curl up like a pill bug and say, oh, I'm going to die. I'm going into hospice. I'm going into Guy McPherson hospice, and only love remains, right? Let the message be a message that contains at least the seed of hope, or at least the seed of build your own adventure.
Well, that's always been, I think, the strength of Guy McPherson's message is the urgency, right? The extreme urgency, the radical sense of urgency that is necessary, right? We need that message. And Guy McPherson himself has said, that we just don't know what's possible, whether it's possible or not. He said he's never advocated for not trying.
Yeah, I guess here's kind of how I see it. If Guy McPherson were the McDonald brothers back in the 1950s, I'm seeking to be Ray Kroc, right? I'm seeking to take his core message and, productionalize it, right? Franchise it, expand it, get it out there. But before I do any of that, I really want to clean up the message, because right now it's a message of doom. It's abrupt climate change leading to near-term human extinction. And yes, it's a message of urgency. I'll grant him that. It got my attention, right? But I think it's impacting the vast majority of these primates called Homo sapiens, human beings who are receiving the message. I think it's impacting us in a way that's disempowering. Either it causes us to just look away, or it causes us to go into, sort of hospice mode if we really assimilate it. Because near-term human extinction is built into it. And that's the problem I have, because it either repels the message, or if the message is assimilated, it shuts off hope and it shuts off action to doing something about it. Back to you.
Yeah, it's self-defeating. I mean, the only hope remains, the only love remains message, I think is something of a cop-out. That's just my opinion, because it's not as though we need, near a certain, death and destruction in order to love. And I would argue that the highest form of love is actually the fight for survival of which we speak. The hope in the face of despair, the banding together against all odds, that sort of thing. I think is a much higher form of love than simply the embrace, the close embraces that Titanic goes down.
Yep. And in fact, my girlfriend and I were talking about that on the episode 2 of Love at the End of the World, which we recorded earlier this evening. And that this is the highest form of love that we can aspire to, is love for the whole of Mother Earth and all of her children, human and otherwise, and all of her ecosystems, species, life-supporting systems, etc. And Noah's Arkology is, a separate series which addresses one mega strategy for maximizing this expression of our love, resulting in the tangible accomplishment of saving as much as possible of life on Earth.
Yeah, and frankly, I think that as necessity is the mother of all virtue. At least that's a proverb that I happen to believe in. I think there's going to be a sense of urgency that that will dawn on people regardless of McPherson's message. Not that I don't think his message is one worth listening to. I do think it is one worth listening to. We've been listening to it and sharing it with others. But at the same time, I think that Noah's Arkologies, for example, I think will gain attention in the face of the imminent threat we face. And it very well could be that even though now there's a large percentage of people who hear about Noah's Arkology from the Guy McPherson camp, that's probably the wrong word, but Guy McPherson supporters, people who are plugged into that, it could be that before long it's actually the other way around. People start hearing about the Guy McPherson's message as a part of learning about Noah's Arkology, right? Because they become more and more dialed in, simply because they're looking for answers.
I think you just hit the nail on the head, Michael, and I really like it, because you just here's what's coming to me now, is that rather than try to transform Guy McPherson's message, right? Instead of trying to make Coke into New Coke, let's simply launch Pepsi into the market. So keep Coca-Cola classic, abrupt climate change leading to near-term human extinction, and ba-ba, Pepsi becomes Noah's Arkology, the antidote to the Guy McPherson apocalypse.
Yeah, and as I recall, now I'm drawing a blank on his name. We interviewed him for a Radcast.
Pinchbeck, Daniel Pinchbeck.
Yes. Pinchbeck essentially said the same thing to us personally.
Yeah. Except, see, now we've finally branded the alternative, right? Before it was just not Guy McPherson, not the apocalypse, not extinction. Now we've got a brand for it. The brand is Noah's Arkology.
And it's not that we, the two of us disagree with what Guy McPherson is saying, right? That's not the point, right? We're not like taking a stand against Guy McPherson and his followers. It's just that I don't think it's that at all. I just think that the relative percentage of people who have heard of, let alone embraced, Guy McPherson's message, will be actually a small sliver of those who hear about Noah's Arkology, because people are looking for solutions to problems, right? Answers to questions. And I just think the notion of a Noah's Ark, is going to speak to a lot more people, appeal to a lot more than some doomsday message that will probably be misunderstood anyway by most.
But here's the paradox, Michael, is that without a flood, there's no need for Noah's Ark. So in other words, without some sort of a doomsday message, there's no need for Noah's Arkology.
But the doomsday message will come from many corners, including Guy McPherson.
Yeah, that's fair. It's just that it seems that Noah's Arkology is really a solution to the extreme doomsday message, of which is pretty unique to Guy McPherson.
Yeah. Say. Well, we'll see. But I think just holding that up. I mean, I think part of the genius of the branding of Noah's Arkology is that people will want to know what it is, because it has this resonance about, survival in the face of existential, death and destruction, not only to humans, but to all life. That's certainly a message that we hear from a number of different camps, with different ideologies, whatever those may be, whether it's in the face of climate change or something else, who will hear about that and see, and whatever their motivation is, it's not like there's a wrong motivation for wanting to, design and develop one of these Arkologies, right? Whatever it may be. And I think it just needs to be much more open-ended to receive the likes of Guy McPherson's followers, but go well beyond it, and I think that as people become more aware of the various existential threats that we're facing, the news stories coming in, the scientific data, I think there'll be people that come to Noah's Arkologies from unexpected places, right? And so I guess I'm seeing it in terms that aren't at all, unique to Guy McPherson's message, however central that may be.
Sure. No, really good points, Michael. Really good points. And actually, what you make me think of is that in the realm of messaging and predictions about, the global problems / predicaments of abrupt climate change, let's say there are these shades of gray from, all the way from it's a hoax, all the way to, Guy McPherson, right? In a parallel scale up here, you've got shades of gray of degrees of Arkology. Everything from very light forms of Arkology to super weather resistant, Guy McPherson apocalypse resistant Arkologies over on this extreme. So it's kind of like, wherever you end up, wherever you enter the conversation on this spectrum down here of basically how bad is it? How bad is abrupt climate change and its impacts, right? That will map to a shade of gray of the Arkologies that you'll be comfortable with. Basically, a car for every budget, right? An Arkology for every, degree of urgency of climate change. And with Noah's Arkology, we're kind of taking it all the way to an extreme, kind of the Jolt Cola approach, the Hummer approach, the, name your, the Tonka truck approach, name your favorite extreme brand. That's kind of what we're doing. We're sort of doing an extreme branding approach by taking the most urgent message, Guy McPherson's, and mapping Noah's Arkologies to that. Because if it can survive Guy McPherson, it can survive anything. By the way, I want to say hello to our viewers. It's been oscillating between 4 and 5. Thank you all for joining us. And please submit your comments to this video, which will be posted on my YouTube channel as well. Comments, questions, etc., so we can keep the conversation going. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you. Well, I'm personally about out of time. I know it's very late there, or very early in Seattle on the west coast of the U.S., but I think my parting message is that Noah's Arkology is going to communicate to a lot of folks in different ways. And so, I think when we're speaking to, the Guy McPherson camp, we're actually speaking to some sophisticated folks, right? And I think when we're talking to them, we can be very candid and scientific, and there's no reason why not to speak to Guy McPherson's folks directly, open and honestly. But then there will be other occasions where we're just going to speak more generally about the threats we face, whether one has heard of Guy McPherson or not. And I think the whole notion of Noah's Arkology is going to speak to a lot of different people in different ways, and that's what we want. It's not like we're looking for some ideological pure reason for people to, get on board with Noah's Arkologies, but simply the fact that they're casting about looking for a way out of the predicaments we face.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Alrighty. Well, I'll talk with Guy McPherson and I'll update everyone. We'll do a recording. Maybe we'll even interview Guy McPherson on the topic. And,
yeah, let's hear what he has to say.
Totally.
Give him a chance to say his bit in his own voice.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Good stuff. All right. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to our next session.
Okay. Right. Looking forward to it, Jamin.
All right.
And,
great to see you.
Thank you to our viewers as well.
Absolutely. Thanks so much to our viewers. We welcome all questions and comments right here on this video. Talk to you all soon. Thanks so much. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Thank you.
Thank you.